So, what did your dad say to you before coming in today?
He said, I said, I'm going to do a wee video that might go on the internet. And he said, oh, no, not that old Belfast accent.
It is so Northern Irish to have like such a hang up about the accent. I don't know why. Because their accent's lovely. I mean, I don't know why anyone would think otherwise.
Well, that's it. When you live out of the country, you actually, when you hear somebody talking in a Belfast accent, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, because you're in Spain now, kind of full time, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you hear that accent overseas, it's like music to your ears.
Exactly.
I remember flying home. I think the longest I've been away in one stretch was a year. And I remember coming back and I flew into George Best, and I remember like seeing the Koreans and hearing the accent. I was like, I've actually missed it so much, even though I said I never would.
It's true.
Man. So you're full-time Spain. How did that come about?
Just pandemic, I suppose, makes you kind of look around and think. I mean, we were in a startup. We weren't seeing daylight anyway. So the pandemic kind of passed us by, but then coming out of it, it was like, we don't really see that much daylight, and wouldn't it be nice that when the time you do, you went outside and it like wasn't raining, the sun was actually shining. And I thought, you know what, we could just move to Spain because everything's remote. And I wasn't expecting Shane to say yes, and he was like, right, let's go. And I think within 5 weeks we had a house and we were away. Like, we literally everything onto a truck and the 2 dogs and everything, and just boom, over to Spain. And it was the right choice because we are still working as hard, but when you do have those moments where you get outside, you know, a wee bit of sunshine, it's more than likely dry. So, yeah, it was more of a mental health thing, I think, than being sort of stuck in the house and you know, being at the mercy of the weather. So.
Totally, and like you say, like those founder years are so kind of all-encompassing that it's like you wouldn't really be doing much anyway, do you know what I mean? So you may as well do it in somewhere warm.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're set up then, because you are like a member of Orla Baths.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what's that all about?
Well, we actually back in 2020 did the Ignite Accelerator.
Yeah.
But that was literally the week before that was due to start in March. Lockdown happened. So our accelerator was the first one that went online, essentially. So I've always had that connection to Orla Baths and you know, with Ian and Chris and that. So, you know, when it was time to come back in, it was natural to come back in and meet the people that we'd only really seen on video calls. And so I've always kind of kept this then as a virtual office. When I do come back to Belfast, I like to come in and do a day here, a day there. And it's nice, I mean, actually just walking through there now going, hello, you know. It's nice to keep those relationships too. Take away food back in the home territory.
Absolutely. It's like coming in and having your old schoolmates around, do you know what I mean? It's just like,
it's so nice to see a familiar face sometimes, you know.
And I think we've all worked out of coffee shops, you know, it's kind of comes with the territory, but there's something so nice about like having somewhere where you can actually just like plant yourself, even if it is for a day, you know, like a kitchen, toilets that you don't have to show a barcode for every single 10 minutes, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's so, if I had found out about this place sooner, I definitely would have jumped over. So yeah, look, hello, welcome back to another episode of Meet the Members, where we have the chance to get to know some of the incredible people who call Orla Baths. I was going to say their business home, but Orla, you're our first virtual resident that we've chatted to. And we're doing it in person, which is super cool. And we're just here to get to know a bit more about Orla. Orla is the COO and co-founder of SideQuest VR. Hit us, tell us, what is it?
Well, SideQuest is a virtual content platform, basically. We started out back in 2019. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with VR headsets, but Facebook bought a company called Oculus, and then they released this flagship device called the Quest. And when it came out, it was different from anything that had been done before. But typical Facebook style, put a big wall around it, said nobody's getting in, and we were game developers at the time. We wanted to get on a headset, we couldn't. We had to find another way. We leveraged a developer workflow that just made it so that you could put your game on a headset for people to test. Nice and easy, all above board. And what we didn't expect is that all these other developers would have the same problem, and they were like, hey, can I also put my game there? And then we had more of like this community spirit where we were each bringing our own communities together to this one place for the purposes of testing, and it just skyrocketed from there.
Wow.
Really, you know. At the end of 2019, we had 200,000 monthly active users. At the end of 2021, we're up to 1 million. The end of 2022, up to 2 million. So it's been mental. We're still pinching ourselves in between holding on for dear life. And you know, we've had to fundraise every year, venture capital, learn all these new skills, and you know, we've now got staff in the US and staff in the UK, and we're just opened up another branch in Spain, and so it's just keeps on giving and growing, and it's a lovely thing to be part of, because it's like this. I guess we're on the upside of the roller coaster here at the minute. There's a few wee waves, but it is great. It is great, very fun as well.
That's cool. I mean, it's classic. It's like business 101, having a problem for yourself, going out and solving it, and then realising there's other people that have the same problem too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
So fill in the blanks for me here. I totally get, okay, I have a game that I've been developing, I need to find a way to test it out. Are you like reaching consumers at all, or is it just developers and people who are testing games, beta testers, all that sort of stuff?
It's consumers. Now we don't sell anything on SideQuest. The idea is that VR games are very expensive to build. Well, I mean, any game is very expensive to build, right? You're talking millions. So you might have an idea, you think, but this might work for VR, but you need to do the concept. You have to test it, okay? So you get a little bit of money together, or you're doing it in your garage and you're outside of your work hours, and you're thinking, I think I have something here. And the idea is that you come to SideQuest early on and you say, hey people, what do you think? And you get early feedback, and often that's the catalyst. And so if you start to get users going, this is amazing, build another chapter, build another scene, or I would totally support this, and then the developers are incentivized then, and they say, okay, I've got positive response, maybe now I can go to a publisher, I can get investment, I can do this for real. Then you have some games where it's not going to work, and that developer, maybe it hurts them in the moment, but it saved them a lot of time, and it saved them a lot of money, because then they can just flip on and appropriate their skills to a new idea.
Yeah.
So it's about idea, it's about iteration, and content, I guess. It's hit or miss, and you really have to get a hit, especially in VR, because it's so specific. So we've had tons of developers come to SideQuest. You know, Facebook said no. They're called Meta now, so you may hear me say Facebook or Meta or Oculus. It's a whole load of words for them. But you know, they were saying no, and these developers were coming to us and building these insane communities, getting fabulous metrics, and then Facebook were coming back to them and going, do you want to come on our store? And that's the way you want it. You want to be in a position where you can show your data, you can say, well, here's my community, here's all my positive responses, here's my gameplay, here's my unique mechanic, whatever it might be. And you know, from time to time, you know, Facebook will reach out and say, hey SideQuest, you know, we need more story games, or we're looking at fitness this month, and you're able to say, well, actually, here's 5 or 6 that are doing really well on the platform,
so
check them out and stuff. So we've really helped a lot of developers now get to the store, and that's really rewarding for us, and we haven't charged them. We're doing it out of the goodness of our heart, and you know, VC money, but we'll get there someday where we'll work out what the strategy might be long term. But right now we're just very fortunate to be in a position where we're helping people, empowering people, and giving them a future in the gaming industry as well.
So cool. I mean, it's cool for so many reasons. It's especially cool for the developers. But when I was growing up and we had dial-in internet in the house, I remember booting up a website called, I think it was called MiniClip. And it was this wee website where there was thousands of games on it, and some of them were very polished and some of them had kind of just been thrown out. I used to love going on and seeing what people were working on and seeing all the new wee bits. And so you've given a chance, or you've created a place for, even as a consumer, early adopters in the VR space to come on and be oh, what's going on over here? I wonder what this wee game's and tickle, or I should say scratch that kind of curiosity itch too.
It's funny too, because you see little things that you just wouldn't have seen before, where you realise a lot of people, they want to be the first to be playing these games. So they want to be the early community, and they want to be oh well, I've had that for 2 years.
I was in the Discord actually when it was being made.
My idea, you know. And so you have this whole community that want to champion developers, and they want to be in there first, and they want to tell them how to fix the bugs, and so you're just leveraging that power of community essentially to help these developers get to where they need to be. So otherwise they'd still just be in their bedroom or in their garage, one-man band, building this whole game out, and never really knowing if they have something, and never having that external support as well. So it saves them money and time, and you know, eventually hopefully makes them successful. And some of the biggest games we see now in VR are actually indie developers. They're not the big studios. Like Beat Saber, for example, which Facebook ended up acquiring, is a system seller. That guy started out as a one-man band, and there's so many more like that. And so it's really exciting to see, you know.
Yeah, I love, like, literally, I think if I position myself right, actually underneath us is like the pixel mill, and there's like, I don't know, is there 10, is there 20, is there 30 games being made right now, like underneath us, and it's amazing hearing those guys. And as you said, all of them are like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 team max, who are really trying to like find a niche in the market and break into it. It's fascinating.
Exactly, yeah, and it's great to see now that trickling down too, because there wasn't really an industry for gaming here. It's really only emerging still, very, very niche. Not a great lot of investment in it, but my nephew's obviously been exposed to VR via me, and one of them is head boy at St Malachy's, and he's just sort of, you know, announced now that they've got a whole media lab going on there for gaming, esports and VR, and you know, it's all part of their open night and things. So I love to see it trickling down to like secondary level now, because I've seen it at university level and know that there's games courses in that Ulster University at the Tech and things as well. So I'm really happy to see it kind of infiltrating as a real career option for some people, and it's exciting. Yeah.
So business wise, you guys are like playing the Spotify move, where it's like you have a massive number of people that use your product, and you're like, we'll figure out the monetization down the road.
Yeah, because the one thing that we're certain of is that we don't want to hurt developers. Because the thing is there's a bit of a misconception. Everyone thinks the hardware is what drives things. Yes, the hardware has to exist, but actually it's the content, because you could build the most amazing system in the world, and if you haven't done a game for it, you're not selling it. So in our view, the developers are at the centre of the universe, and the hardware and the users and stuff are kind of on the periphery, and the investment and things. And so if you don't help the developers succeed and keep it as cost effective as possible, then you won't have success. And I think that's where a lot of the emerging hardware maybe thinks, oh well, I'm the hardware and the developers can't exist without me, and you think, well, you'd be surprised. See how this one's gonna go.
Yeah, but it's interesting, because I think like the gaming industry is a really good example of, there can be a tendency in the, and you kind of touched on this, like the hierarchy of, I don't know, entrepreneurs or talent. Creatives can kind of be shifted in the bottom sometimes, like, oh, like those wee like starving artists, like who cares about them? But the reality is, like, no creative, there's no content, and there's no content, there's no nothing. Do you know what I mean? So it's interesting that I really like how at the core of what you guys do, you have that creator at the core of it. It definitely makes a lot of sense, and actually it's a thing that's going to help the industry thrive in the long term as well. Yeah,
the people who are developing on SideQuest now are potentially these indie studios of the future, as long as they're supported in these early days. And I think the hardware's coming around to that realization. Well, I hope they are. Otherwise they get really awkward.
That's awesome. So massive reach in terms of what your product's doing. How big's your team-ish?
I get asked this all the time, and I have to really think. There's definitely 5 in America and 1 in Canada. I know those numbers because they're easy. I don't know what we're up to in the UK and Northern Ireland. We must be trading about 19-20 now, I think, and we're growing. So we're adding people like by the week here at this stage, because we got our Series A investment last year, 12 million from led by Google Ventures, which was an amazing stamp of approval and really helps us now hire and get the right talent in to build the product of the future. So 20 people, all global, all basically living off of a staff server on Discord. Some people have met in person, some people haven't. I don't know, I was like thinking, if we ever meet in person, I'm going to have to get like headshots of people and stuff, or give them name badges, because half the time on Discord they're not even on camera. Do you know, you just learn, you're just operating on a whole other kind of level, right? It's text or whatever. So I was laughing the other day, and people change too. One time they come on a call, have a beard, and the next time they don't, and you think,
but that's like, you already are, and I don't want to derail this whole conversation, but like you already are existing in something like a metaverse of work. Do you know what I mean? Like, people are like, oh, it's all the metaverse is so, and I'm like, no, like it's actually right here. Do you know what I mean? We're just in an early stage of it.
I just wish it was easier to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard. You think being a remote company, great, I can hire from anywhere, but like the red tape and the tax stuff,
really?
and like, so it's not like I can have the best of wherever I want. You have to think about, well, how do I pay their salary and where do they pay the taxes? And so setting up the US was insane.
Really?
Yeah, like I didn't know this, and you just learn these things, right?
Every state?
Every state is like a country.
Man, it's so ridiculous.
And then within the state, there's also like school zones and all this. And so you can actually have different HR laws within the state. I was trying to get my lawyer to do up like a team book, whatever.
Yeah.
Here's all the, and she was like, well, which state's he in? And I said, well, these 5, but can I just have all of them? And she was like, no, you could. She was like, no, there's so much. You just need to tell me which city they're in and which state, and I will give you the rules for that city and state.
That's brutal.
Absolutely brutal. It's very confusing, because that means if team members are talking, going, oh, what do you get, what do I get? So what we're trying to do at the minute is look at everything, like trying to work out if we can do global policy. So we've done a global annual leave policy, and that's working. And now we're looking at, like, can we do a global policy that's like everybody gets the same maternity, everybody gets the same whatever, and it's tricky. It's not straightforward.
Yeah.
So we're working through that process too, and we've just moved to a 4-day work week as well, which
nice.
is, I have to say, transformative.
It is good, isn't it? I think this is my second year on the 4-day, and it's really scary to take the leap.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could go back now.
No,
Do you ever look back and you're like,
so high
how did I ever exist before?
I tell you, it was not the life. Like, I would really encourage people to be talking to their employers, and employers to be really thinking about it, because our output, I would say, is higher now in 4 days, because you've energy, you're excited to get back to work on a Monday, and then you actually go into your weekend with a wee bit of energy left, you know, to kind of spend on yourself or on your family and things. So I think that's really important, and thankfully our team thinks so too. So we're sticking with it.
That's awesome. Very, very cool. Is there any type of employee that you struggle to get? Like, there's a shortage of, like, really like superstars in a particular niche or area?
I mean, engineers are always hard, right?
Okay.
Whether that's front end, back end, it's always a bit tricky. You typically find engineers get a job and they just, they're
they're in for life.
They're less incentivized because they get paid so well wherever they go. You know, so you're really looking. We often just try and look for people who would love to work in gaming and stuff as well. And actually, female engineers is particularly difficult. So we really encourage female engineers to apply, because even though we're really pushing for this balance as a company, pushing really hard, we do still find that you know, with your best will in the world, if people aren't coming in the door, it's hard to kind of make the kind of quotas and stuff. So it is something that probably in gaming specifically as well, it just needs a wee bit of help along, and hopefully we can keep pushing and trying to make that change. But it is.
For sure. And I think, you know, we're probably, I'm talking out of my absolute arse here, right? This is anecdotal. We're kind of coming out of a season, a very, very long season, where like gaming was predominantly like a boy, male area, like as a consumer. Like when I was growing up, like I didn't know any girls that played games. It was always just the boys in my class that were playing. Whereas now that started to shift, so hopefully, and I know you need people right now, you're like, no, I can't wait 10 years until I graduate, but like I am hopeful that, like, you know, there will be a shift going forward.
There are girls out there, I think, you know, it has been quite toxic in the past, and very bro culture and stuff, and so we're super, like, not paranoid is a hard word, but we're really conscious of like the sort of behaviours and things like that, so we're really eager to get more female engineers and things, and start to balance things out a bit more.
Absolutely. Well, it will restructure everything from the inside out, wouldn't it?
Plenty of girls in other departments, but it's just kind of engineering side. I hope to see a lot more come out of there.
Awesome. What do you like or love about Orma Bass that you haven't said already?
Just a sense of community. I love coming in and you don't know who you're going to meet that day, or maybe you're grabbing a coffee with someone, and like, it's just nice to know you come into work, you'll maybe have a conversation with someone you never met before, or it's just something random. I kind of miss that about not going to an office, so there's chats in the kitchen or whatever, and you're making a coffee. I think it's that sense of community, and just, you know, it's a nice feeling, and it is a beautiful building, and I have loved co-working for longer than co-working existed. I actually tried, I don't know how many times, to pitch co-working to business people in Belfast, and every time they were like, that's not going to work, and I'm like, hello, Orla Harris, if you hadn't worked with me 10 years ago, you'd have been sitting on a gold mine. So,
what did you do before entrepreneurial? Before SideQuest, I should say?
I was a project manager. I worked in like renovations and and construction projects.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So.
Did you game growing up?
Well, my brother got the consoles for Christmas.
Sure, yeah.
But I gamed with them, yeah. So
awesome.
I can remember like the Amstrad and stuff, because I'm the youngest of 6. So when there was consoles in our house from the 80s, right?
Yeah.
So I remember, going right through the whole, Nintendos and Super NES and Sega Mega Drives and all that, and always playing along with my brother.
Yeah.
But it was always like, those were his.
Yeah.
And like, I had the Barbie dolls.
Yeah. And if you were one of 6, you were probably the last to get the controller as well.
Oh yeah, exactly. But I have to say, it's really great now with VR. You wouldn't believe the female community, and even like the older community as well, because consoles typically we're talking 10 to
sure
20 something, or and maybe I speak too soon now. But VR is different. There's so many other communities in VR, because I don't even use it to game. I use it more for fitness, or for watching Netflix, and then I have people who use it they're just shooting up some zombies and things like that.
Yeah.
And then my husband is just social. He's just, if he's in VR, he's in a social space.
Interesting. Wow.
And so, he wants to hang out with his mates.
Yeah.
And just mess around, and they build little things because they're playing around, and they just like to have a laugh. So he's not a gamer or doing it for fitness. So it's it's slowly but surely showing that people can have these in their home and all have them for different uses. And we're seeing that too, parents get the kid for Christmas, and the parents hold on a second, apparently he needs it, and next thing you know there's 2 headsets, and then each kid has to have a headset, and it's there's 3 or 4 headsets in a household.
Mad.
So it's exciting.
That is cool, yeah. So this is a real noob question. Netflix on VR, what?
Yeah, well you go in,
right,
and you open up the app.
It's like a cinema, or what do you...
It puts you into this lovely cabin.
Unbelievable.
And you're on a sofa, and it's just a massive screen, and you just go through Netflix like you would normally, and you watch a show, and you'll never watch a movie the same way.
Wow.
Because you actually watch the movie.
Yeah,
and
of course.
You get really into it, because it's in your face. There's no peripheral things going on. You're not looking at your phone halfway through. None of that there. You're in VR. So I was watching all these movies again, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then there's another mode where if you lie down in the bed, you can change it to a screen, and the screen can move, so you can actually have the screen up here, and you just lying watching the screen.
Wow.
It's fabulous.
That's epic. I've got to give that a go.
And there's Prime is on there, and there's a few in YouTube, and we're starting to see now cameras are getting better for recording 360. So we're starting to see really high quality 360 drone footage and stuff on YouTube, which is phenomenal. Flying over the Maldives or something. It's unreal. It's transformative.
Wow. So exciting. I mean, I love to see that all these years later you're still pumped up about it.
Yeah, no, it is. It's great. It is great. It's a very exciting industry to be part of, and it's a feel good industry, right? So it helps.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much for watching or listening. Really appreciate you checking this one out. If you'd like to see some of the other episodes featuring members, whether they're virtual or otherwise, people who call Home Ambassador Business Home, check out their website. If you want to come for a coffee, get a tour of this place, see if this would be a good fit for you and your business, we would love to have you. Shoot us a wee email at the top of the page. Other than that, Orla, pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, really loved that. Man, the Netflix thing is gold.
You're going to go buy a headset after
yeah.